Yeah.
All right, guys. So these are two of my amazing teachers that I have uh, met almost almost 10 years ago now. And I want to introduce uh, my dear friend Sam and my dear friend Wendi. We've had an amazing growing relationship over the last like 9 years or so. We met back in 2016 at a Reiki. It wasn't a Reiki conference, but I was there with my Reiki master, and we were. It was all types of energy healing modalities there. Do you guys remember the name of that event?
It was a healing expo.
Yeah,
I know
Healing
that.
Expo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it one of Greg's healing expos?
Something.
Yeah, probably Greg
Yeah, it
Campisi
was in
had
like a
something
big
going on.
conference room, and I was like, whatever they're doing is amazing. They're both such shining lights, and I love the harmony of how you both work together and the balance of the masculine and feminine. And it's been really inspiring for me. Your relationship has been a big inspiration for my relationships and for my current relationship, and so I'm really excited to dive into this. And basically, the topic today will be integrated energy therapy, which is what both of you have trained me in. We've um, gone on a journey from starting with the first level all the way to taking me and my father up to the teaching level, and
Yeah.
it's been really cool to watch both of your journeys over these years. So it won't just be about integrated energy therapy. I'm sure we'll have lots of other topics of discussion, but I think we can start by just telling people what integrated energy therapy is and how it's impacted your lives and how you've made it basically the center of your focus in a lot of ways. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, you are. That works well. So, integrated energy therapy was developed by Stephen Thayer, and the I guess the Earthbound parent company is called the Center of Being. And it's since been just a little bit of data, right? We'll kind of work into the nuts and bolts of it, but some of the data is Stephen since retired, and a wonderful woman, Barbara Stepniak, has stepped into an amazing leadership role as IET takes the next transformation of itself in supporting humanity. So, what is IET, Integrated Energy Therapy? It's essentially named for the angelic energy that is here to assist us and move through the earth. It is a form of energy that, similar to Reiki, goes so deep into the cells. The whole tagline of IAT has been get the issues out of the tissues, right? Maybe many here who listen to this have heard the book The Body Keeps the Score, right? All the things that happen to us, there's imprints, there's memories, cellular memories from this life and past lives, from events, and it can compound, and our energy can become stuck or slowed down, or just in some ways colored and distorted from what we may call our authentic ability to express. And of course, that's something we're constantly exploring into. But IT effectively is, I mean, there's a textbook definition, we can pull that out, but I'm going to use my learned definition of what it is in my life that I've seen work in Wendy's life, and we've gotten from working with others too, as teachers and as practitioners. IT is this beautiful energy that supports us through our intention, amazing power of intention to shift, move, release, and clear energy so we can manifest more clearly, visualize more directly, embrace elements of our life's mission, and effectively transform ourselves in any moment of need. Because that's where it really matters the most, right? It's where the rubber meets the road, right? Boots on the ground. We look for tools that are going to be useful for us. We look for tools that we can learn how to master to achieve an outcome, to achieve an end. And IET is one of those energy tools that for me has been the reason it's my go-to. And I've done Reiki, and I've experienced many of my own incidents of angels and various entities. One of the reasons I one of the reasons IIT got through my discernment sniff test is that it is continually the most loving, comfortable, calming energy, even when I have to move a mountain, and even when that mountain is me. It's been there to help me move that mountain, move my stubbornness, massage myself through periods of intense fear and doubt, moments of uncertainty. And it's not always for the big capital T trauma stuff that happens to us. It's also just for when that sudden bill pops up that we're like, I was not ready for that. And there's a peak of fear. It's there in any moment, whether it's a splinter or a canoe going through you, you know? It's wonderful to shift the energy in any moment of need. It works wonders on the physical layer. I find it to be most effective in my use in the emotional layer and mental layer. Of course, that's where I typically get more bound up. And that's where I really enjoy doing work in those layers anyhow. So I'll pause there and let Wendi add anything, or you kind of open up any pieces, because I probably put a lot out there that may offer some curiosity to explore.
Okay, sounds good. Wendy, what would you?
Okay.
Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Well, I would say, a life-giving tool. It's the prime tool of self-healing. It teaches
Mm.
you to fill your container. So then you're filled to overflow to whatever it is that you need, whatever that it's like, it fills you with all of, like, yeah, whatever it is that you need, you're filled to overflowing. And what it teaches you is you give to yourself first, and then you give from your overflow to others. So then you are not giving from a depletion place.
That's right.
And so you're filled with, right, the angelic energy, but you can also connect with something called the heart link, which is really the key to IET, and it's connecting your heart to not only to the angelic realm, but to the highest level divinity, whatever is perfect and right for you to connect with. It's like a heart to heart connection, the most powerful sacred connection. And so when you give from the place of gratitude, then you receive. And we always receive more than we give. And so it's receiving first for yourself, and then giving from that overflow. So again, it's, our mission, and what I've felt from IET my whole entire life is, it's about making self-love a way of life. And IET is just that. It really is such a powerful tool in your own journey of self-healing and self-discovery.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Uh, what I usually explain to clients and patients when they ask what the difference is with other energy healing modalities, I usually say that I'm working through the aura, with the aura to clear that out, and I'm working with a team of angels to assist me with that. So I just I usually keep it short, sweet, and simple. Would you guys agree with that? I mean, I know that it's way bigger than that, but that's kind of like a very condensed way of saying it, right?
It's a very fine way of saying it. Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Simple is better. Simple and short is much better, especially in that setting, all right? In that teacher setting where we get to talk about the concepts and open some things up, there's a lot more room to breathe with the words. But in the prep for a setting, or when you're just offering a brief description, yours is perfect. Wendy will often say, I could tell you all day long what it is, but the best way to know what it is to experience it. And that
yeah,
usually just gets people going, okay, yeah, the conversation done. Sign me up. Let's try it out.
yeah. And one thing that I love is that you guys are in the room where we did all the training and all the healings that we did, and that's really powerful to have that be part of this video. And I'm really, really happy to be on here with you guys. And I mean, can you tell me a little bit? Maybe Wendi, you can start out by like how you found IET, what your journey's been with it, how it's impacted you personally, and then I'd love to hear from Sam as well, and with the same journey.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I going back to childhood, right, an empath, and I always would just look around the world saying, what is this place? What is my purpose? And I would hear spirit, is this always this quiet, gentle voice. And I heard, you're here to be a teacher of the heart. Because I knew that I wanted to be a teacher, but I didn't want to be a teacher of the actual school system. Because when I went into first grade, I said, this is prison. There's something wrong with this.
I
So
can relate to
I,
that.
I could never see myself teaching in a building like that. So I just let it go and I trusted the journey that, I would find and be guided to my purpose. And so I started off with the holistic healing arts when I was in my early 20s. So I became a massage therapist. So I did that for a year or two and I decided, I want to learn some kind of energy modality to incorporate with the massage because I knew that there was a lot more. I didn't want to just work with the body, but I wanted to work with the person's auric field and their spiritual layer and go really deep. And so I again would put it out to the universe. Okay, when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. And so I met this wonderful woman, Hannah Goodwin, and she became a Reiki master teacher. So I took all levels of Reiki with her. So I started to incorporate Reiki with my massage. Wonderful, great. I did that for a year or two. And then a Reiki colleague of mine came to me and said, you won't believe this, but I just had the most amazing session. And it's called integrated energy therapy. And at that time I was comfortable. I was comfortable with the Reiki and the massage, but she wouldn't let up. She says, "Listen, I'm just going to continuously nudge you until you go at least just get a session."
And that is the energy of the angels too, right there.
Right, exactly. So I decided, okay. And this gentleman, Stephen Thayer, lived about 45 minutes from me, so it was an easy drive to go see him and to have a session. And that was a turning point for me. I mean, I fell in deep love with this modality. I knew that this was my path and my soul's purpose. And that was, that was in 97. In 98, I learned the first 3 levels. And then in 2000, I learned the master instructor level. And in 2017, I became a trainer. I'm one of 40 trainers worldwide. IET is worldwide. And so, I've been teaching and seeing clients ever since. And so, it's like in my cells, it's in my being. This particular modality, it's just part of, I can't help but what I shared with you earlier about the heart link. When you fill yourself up, then you give that to others. So it's just an automatic for me. Wherever I go, I bless everybody with the integrated energy therapy, with the blessings of the angels. I can't help but heart link everybody and everything around me. So to know I'm passing on a blessing and giving them whatever it is that they need in whatever moment. And so it has absolutely been something that has helped me so much along my journey. So much. I found myself on like a 10-year journey of not really having my own sacred space, or somewhat being homeless, but I've always had a place to stay, always, had a full belly. And I would find myself when it was time to move on, I had my car. That's what I owned. I had my car. And I would just be in the car and I would just heart link and connect to say, okay, where do you want me next? So either my phone would ring or call this person, and I would do that, and that would be the next perfect place to go to. And so the integrated energy therapy, the guidance of the angels and my spirit guides were so present with me. And I would be in the spirit of grace during it all. I mean, it's a frightening thing to be like, okay, I have no clue where I'm going to go.
Full surrender.
Full surrender.
Yeah.
And it gave me such grace and such peace. But also, there's a playfulness to it too. The angels love to play. So there's this curiosity and this playfulness that would feed me. And that's how I kept moving along and trusting I'll be in the perfect place. And I want to share with you one of the biggest gifts that the integrated energy therapy, the angels, has given me in my life. And they knew in my heart of hearts that being with and connecting and aligning with my beloved in this lifetime was really, one of my biggest soul's purpose. That the two of us together as beloveds were going to change the world. And it was through IET and Sam taking IET classes.
She's also my teacher, yes.
That brought us together. And it brought so many other students and even clients of mine, the beloved energy together.
Yeah.
I love that. It's so beautiful. And I love your guys' love. I love it. I love you guys together. And when you're together, it's just like this yin yang that works really beautifully. And thank you for sharing your journey, Wendi. Sam, would you do us the honors?
I'd be happy to. So, similar to Wendi, my childhood was marked with a lot of empathic energies. My first memory, I was definitely in diapers, crawling around. So, after 1.5-ish, I guess, to put a date on it. But I felt this warmth over my shoulder, and I turned around, and I heard this voice. Felt this, plurality of voices. It wasn't a chorus of voices. It was a single voice, but a plurality sense, for what it's worth. And the voice said, "It's going to feel like we've abandoned you, but I can assure you that's not true. We are always with you." And then that door closed, and the light turned
Getting
off.
chills as you say that, man.
And I immediately felt cold and alone. And then at age 3, I asked this question, God, what are you? And I got an answer. I was like, and the answer said to first understand who I am. We first have to understand what I'm not. And I got shown like emptiness. Like nothing is more than what, your concept of nothing is more, because that's something, than what I got shown. I got shown the void, the anti of creation. And it was terrifying. I remember shrieking, flailing my arms, and probably passing out. And years later, in first grade, I'm in the classroom, and I would have these panic attacks. From that moment on, I would have recurring panic attacks with the tunnel vision, the sound swooshing, and just the oh shit moment. And I would just grip the wet knuckle grip on my desk. And I felt one day in first grade, I felt one coming on, and I go, oh shit, just grab the desk, and I just hang on and just wait it out. And then in the middle of its peak, it just disappears. And the voice returns and says, now that you know what I am not, I'm going to show you who I am. And everything turned golden. And this beautiful, like they say, that there's a golden honey light covers everything, and this love just infuses everything and flows through. And the voice said, and like I'm looking out the classroom window, I'm seeing the barbershop across the street. I'm seeing all the usual stuff of the earth, but it's all gold. And this voice is just saying, all of this is my creation, and I am in it, and it is in me, and I love everything, and and there was a distinct sense of oneness and the beautiful gift of being able to observe that oneness as a sovereignty amongst the oneness is a beautiful gift that we have as humans, to have free will and to have a sense of self. And we get to play in ego, and we get to play in the id, and get to play in an identity throughout our life and create, co-create something amazing here. It's an incredible gift that we have. As we learn to make use of it, it gets even better. In that moment, I was given the gift of the answer to my question, and it took several years of living life to get the answer to such a innocently simple question: God, what are you? So the panic attacks, interestingly enough, continued for many, many, many years. And I've got thoughts on why, but not pertinent to here, right? So I share that piece because it gives a backstory to why I would be attracted to angels or energy in the first place, because I had some absolutely fundamental forming, shaping experiences well outside. I mean, I on that day in the first grade, I looked around my classroom and I said, probably no one else is ever going to really get what I'm talking about. If I shared this now, they're going to look at me like I got 5 heads. I'm already the oddball out for some reason. This isn't going to help. I had a sense that maybe eventually I would meet people who would be able to talk about this stuff. And slowly and surely I did, but growing up in the Catholic Church, there were some opportunities and some people. Mom took me to a theologian's talk on angels, actually, when I was 6 years old. And it was fascinating what the guy had to say about angels. They talk through flashes of light and where they are in the hierarchy of divinity, and they're here to serve and support us on our journey. We each have a special guardian angel. So I was surrounded by a culture that knew angels and talked about angels. There was the angel's prayer, the prayer to the guardian angel. So I had a relationship already with angels, and I would be able to, growing up, I would look at a person's body and just get a sense, so as if my angel was telling me what was going on with them, not just in the body, but in their state of emotions, their mind, in their spirit, their soul. How were they? Were they struggling? Were they sad? Were they lonely? Tones, not details, but tones. And that was a gift I've always been present with. So when I was later in adult life, after many different wanderings and dead ends and blind turns and leaps of faith, I came to a point where I was in a job and getting a very clear message that it was time to leave all other jobs and focus solely on beginning my spiritual work. I believe I was 30, 32, 33 at the time. And I took a leap of faith. I'd known Wendi through some mutual friends a little bit. We'd met a few times. And we can go into that story a bit too, because it's a fun one. But I went to Wendi and I took my last paycheck, and I said, here, I want to take these classes after I had a session with her. Because I called her up thinking I was going to go into massage therapy, and I knew she did massage, because I knew about energy, but I didn't trust the world to know about energy at a level where I could speak to it and relate. And I wanted an income, so I wanted to pay bills and eat and all those fancy things. And so I called to Wendi and said, hey, can you accredit me? I know we don't need licenses at this point in PA. Do you do that? She was like, well, no, but I do teach this thing called IAT, and I do certifies, and you can, I can certify you, and you can go see your own clients. I'm like, well, that sounds interesting. Not what I want, but okay, I'll try it out. And my first session, I knew that what I had prayed for, I had been delivered to. I used to pray at the age of 12 for hands-on healing. I wanted to be able, like the disciples, I want to be able, because there's so much pain in the world, like needless amounts of pain, right? There must be some cure. There must be some grace available to us through which the pain in the world, not all of it, but the unnecessary pain can be alleviated. Right? Because yes, life requires some struggle and some grain, some strain. That's how we grow. Great. But I mean, there's lots of traumas and lots of terrible things that we don't have to walk with. And there must be some grace available to us. I want in. I want to be able to do that. And so it took about 20 years after I was praying for it to come into my life. But I got there. Mm-hmm. And in that one session with IT, I felt such tremendous. It was as if the pain that was in my heart that I'd been carrying around certain relationships and certain transitions in life had just been lifted up out of me. Not taken away and removed, but transformed, surrendered, because my energy it wasn't like energy of mine was taken away. It was energy I'd been holding around memories and feelings and events. I was able to let go of the burdens, the burdensome aspects that my energy was creating, and the energy was returned to me ready to be redirected in different ways. So it felt like freedom, and it felt like Christ was just there with me. And I left my body. It was a absolutely, for me, perfectly surreal experience. I got my intention and said, this is the thing to do. So trust it, go with it. Let the mind catch up on the understandings and how to talk about it. All that will come in time, but follow in faith this course. And it's been absolutely fantastic for everything I mentioned earlier. The small splinters and the big canoes through our guts. You know, it works, and it works relentlessly. And I've never had, like, many people I've heard talk about the Reiki flu, where this, that Hertzheimer effect, where you're in such detox that you get the flu from it. And IET, I felt deeper clearings, but as IET calls it, healing without feeling. I've never had any kind of IET flu. It's blissful. The deeper the healing goes with IET, it's just blissful. There's almost the amount joy. Joy is the natural outcome of an IET session because joy is the energy of IET. It's that vibration, and it lifts us up too, and it lifts our conditions and our problems up to the problem where they can be solved. Because a problem, thank you, Einstein and many others. I'm sure he wasn't the first to say this, but he's famous for saying it. We cannot solve our problems on the same level we used to create them with the same level of thinking. IET elevates our soul, our energy, our minds, our beings up to the level of divinity, where we can see from a different perspective and feel from a different space and have new senses, where we can be remade in spirit as promised to us, and then bring that back down into this realm. And so that's a powerful transformation. And it can happen with any intention you want, whether it's to, nail that job interview, to go and get more pay, to provide more for your family. Great. A lot of people just say, I just want to feel better. Okay, great. You can do that too. I love more specific power, outcome driven intentions, but hey, just feeling good's great too. It's soothing. And it's been there and present with every turn that we've coordinated and danced with in our relationship, navigating challenges and overcoming ourselves and the situations that we co-create together, so we can co-create closer to the level of our dreams every day. And it's been a beautiful, progressive, adaptive curve the entire way. And IET helps us maintain the resilience and the energy, because sometimes we're flat out tired. And to your point earlier, it flows through and feeds us. And when we need to show up and serve, even if we're both exhausted, and we are, it picks us up. It gives us the fuel, and we're usually uplifted, inspired, and energized by serving through IET. So clearly, there's a lot that we could say about it. I'll just leave that there for a moment.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that, Sam. I mean, it's a beautiful journey you've had with it, and I think the three of us relate in a big way with being empaths and being so connected with the angelic realms in general. And that brings on the question of, like, a little sidetrack, like, how do the angels communicate with you guys on a personal level daily? I know for me, they communicate through numbers. And is there any particular angels that you're more connected with, like a master angel, if you want to call it that, or an angel that is leading leading and guiding the rest? Like for me, um, the two that I connect with daily is Archangel Ariel, and then I have my personal guardian angel, and they communicate through numbers. Like if I'm on my highest timeline, I see 777, for example. That's my personal like way of connecting to that realm. And then I'll get other angel numbers that are very specific to what I'm asking for, what I'm working through, and then those guide me. So, are there any other ways that, let's start with Wendi. Wendi, is there any ways that you connect? I know sometimes it's more subtle, sometimes it's more, every person has a different relationship. So, can you share a little bit about yours?
Sure. The most important thing is, and this is what I teach in the classes, is it's an invitation. It's inviting in the angels to work with us and through us, guiding us, directing us, surrounding us, and protecting us. So, most important to invitation, as Sam could share a little bit about that. You had the experience of, oh, right, I can invite them in. And a great story about that. So it's an invitation. And even it's just like, okay, like, hey, yo, I need you to come in. So with integrated energy therapy, there's 9 specific healing angels of the energy field. And so it's there's not one in particular. I mean, I would say if I really had to pick one, it would be Angel Ariel,
Mhm.
though they all have their own purpose. And so because I've been working with them, I have such a deep relationship with them. I know specifically which ones to call on when I need something specific. Like if I'm really moving through something that I'm afraid of, I'm calling on Archangel Michael,
Mhm.
right? He's going to help me to move through whatever fear, however scary it is. He just reminds me,
Well, he's
just
got the
open up your
sword.
heart more.
He's got the magical sword, right?
Right, exactly. And then there's Angel Sarah. And Angel Sarah is her nickname is the spiritual bulldozer. And
Mm.
so if there's something that there's a heavy level of resistance and you can't seem to move through, and it's part of your soul's purpose to move through this. I always call on her to say, okay, you need to like open this up for me.
She's kind of like a
She's
Ganesha
really
energy,
great.
right? She's kind of like a
What's
Ganesha
that?
Ganesh.
energy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. I mean, she's a great parking angel.
Uh-huh.
So if we ever gonna go say like to New York and or Center City, Philly, and parking usually it's like, yeah, you're never gonna get parking. No, I got Angel Sarah, and so the parking spot is literally right there for us. So she's great in that way. Like I like to play with her. She's really fun to play with.
That she's responsive to play to
She's
this work a
real
lot.
responsive to play. And yeah, there was something I really needed to clear some heavy resistance. And I called upon her and nothing was happening. And so I just like called her out like, hey girlfriend, you call yourself an angel? You're not impressing me. And then it was like so fast, whatever that was, it came through. And she was like, thank you. Like she really liked me to call her out. She's like, kind of gets in there. Um, so yeah, I can't say it's one particular angel. It's whatever it is that I'm needing in that moment. And numbers are a great way that I get that connection,
Mhm.
but also I get connection through songs, through music.
Mhm.
I just get connections through just seeing something that I'm looking at through social media that just goes that. And it's like, wow.
Hmm.
So there's not a one specific thing for me, if that helps. But again, the most important thing is the invitation, inviting them in.
Okay, yeah, that's
Mhm.
amazing. I totally agree. There's like limitless ways for sure, like for them to come in and communicate. The synchronicities I think is a big one too, right? Like just seeing, oh wow, okay, that just showed up. That's really clear that that right there was what I was asking for. I asked for a sign. Very clearly, that's the sign. It's something inside myself that I can recognize when I see it. And can you, while we're on that topic, can you go over like you went over Angel Sarah, right? What you call upon her for, what you call Michael on for. What about the other seven? What do each one of them kind of carry in terms of what people could call them on for?
Well, Angel Ariel is more of connecting you to your soul story, your soul essence, your soul's purpose.
Like your higher self
And
almost?
she's also, yeah, your higher self, but she's also connected to your root. Her purpose is to bring your soul's essence, your soul's light, your soul's purpose into this earth plane. So you're living your soul's purpose manifested, like you're living heaven on earth.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. So she's sort of like the overseer of all the other healing angels.
Mm-hmm.
So she's that. There's Archangel Raphael. Right? He's about healing, but he's helps you to lift the illusion, the illusion that you're under, and the guilt. There could be some heavy. We all have guilt, whether it's society guilting us, or religion, or just ourselves. Ourselves. So he helps us to connect to back to that innocence, to that purity
Mm-hmm.
of who we really are,
Mm-hmm.
and to release the what's not really true. Because illness really is. We're so far from who we are when we're in a place of illness.
Mm-hmm.
So he brings you back to that center place.
People call
And
it
there's Archangel,
dis-ease, right?
right?
Yeah.
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 Archangel Gabriel, right? He's about helping you to navigate and trust your the divine direction, the next steps along your journey, and to release that distrust. He's here to help open up your third eye, so you have that innate power and that intuition within you to navigate and to know your way. And he's sort of that way seer for you.
Gabriel also is
And then
great with relationships, right?
they're all great with
They're all,
relationships, all of them.
Yeah. So I did a short writing on, but back in 2020, as we all had a lot of time on our hands for different things, I had a lot of time to put a lot of kind of learned wisdom and thoughts from my life journey. And some of it touches upon what IAT also speaks into. That I look at Adam as there's like 9 key character conflicts that we as humans struggle with, right? In some cases, you might see it as like the vices and the virtues, and so the angels, as IAT describes it, the angels relate to things like these character conflicts, right? Like the identity, the innocence, the guilt, the trust piece, and so when you ask about Gabriel with relationships, yeah, to Wendy's point, all of the angels don't have necessarily a specific focus, but the attributes that we ascribe them to help us to kind of order and sense ourselves. They kind of focus the work we're doing on ourselves. So it's less about what the angels focus on as much as the reflection they offer us as we look at ourselves and do our work, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the way I'm interpreting it is that different people have stronger relationships with different angels and archangels, right? And depending on that relationship with that each person has with each individual one, or even just with one period, right? Then that angel can come in and function in the ways that any of them can play that role. Am I interpreting that correctly?
Effectively, yes. Yes. The angels are quoted saying that to them they're one unified field of angelic energy. They're not like, hey Bob, hey Joe, hey Tina. They're just angelic energy, and we like to put names on things because it helps us. It's good. It's
Right.
great. Name something.
Hmm.
We anthropomorphize because that's the best way for our wonderful brains to reflect and to get feedback. Because without feedback, we're really blind. So we have senses, we have experiences, we have ways of thinking. We have to put shadows up on the cave wall so we can begin to explore what we think is reality, and then turn around, walk out of the cave, and go look at reality. The angels are here to support us in ways where we otherwise might not have some feedback. They're beautiful mirrors, and they are also vehicles or messengers, deliverers of a divine grace as well. So it transcends just a conversation, and it does get into that transformation as well, where even without the words, there's this shifting if we're willing. And if we invite them in, we have even a glimpse of the temptation, or not temptation, um, intention,
Hmm.
then that's all. But what they need basically is just the invitation. They know our needs. They're on the sidelines going, bring us in.
Hmm.
Whatever your problem is, whether it's a relationship, whether it's fear, whether it's doubt, whether it's shame, guilt, innocence, whatever you're struggling with, whatever conflict you're in, just tag us in and we'll help you through it. You'll be doing, like, you have to lift the load and do the work, but you're going to be supercharged while you do it, and you're going to know that you're not alone, and it's going to feel as if you're being carried and lifted. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really great way to describe it. I think that there's so many ways to connect with them, and like you said, the main thing, what I keep hearing is the invitation. Gotta ask. People. Um, I know for myself, I would pray a lot, but it was the moment that I asked, like to see the truth of this reality, to get the answers, to connect to my higher self and to God. That's when I had my Kundalini rise up, and that's when I had my spiritual awakening. I had to ask.
Right.
It's a simple concept, but not everybody thinks about that. Like think just ask, like connect and ask to build a deeper relationship with the angels, connect and ask to be guided and to be supported and to be shown, and then I believe for me it was about releasing and removing all the beliefs and like old programming that was getting in the way of me receiving and connecting to that realm. And so yeah, was there any other ways that the angels connect with you, Sam, personally?
Sure, yeah. The numbers were a fun one. When I really earnestly got into my spiritual work, um, I I was guided to go to a shop. I bought a crystal, and I'm not a crystal guy, still am not. But for a moment, there was just this impetus and this drive to just go this direction. And I still have it. When Wendy has one that when we got together, she has. Like, they looked very similar.
Like almost
They've
identical.
since changed dramatically over the years. They're such a living creatures. But at the same place where I got the crystals, I got Doreen Virtue's Angels 101, Angel Numbers 101 book. And that was a lot of fun for me because it gave me a help with certainty because I knew I was getting promptings. And so I was like, okay, let's make this fun because I want to be able to interpret and not scattershot a bunch of guesses. So let's just help. So I was given a nice little guide, right? And that's all it is. It's a guide. My own discernment's still sovereign, but it's nice to have a bit of a map and some reference points to go, you know what? Seeing that, and getting this message, it gets the brain to focus. And without focus, we're really lost. Like, humans have an incredible ability for denial, vagueness, and obfuscation of the really important stuff in life. Until, to your point, we have a breakthrough moment and we get clear. And when we get clear, we make a statement, and that statement is very often some kind of statement of want, and it's an asking, right? We can complain all day long and nothing will change. And a lot of prayer I've done is complaining and bitching and moaning, thinking it's prayer. Well, I told you what I didn't like. Yeah, great. I know all about what you don't like, Sam. What do you want? Oh, didn't I say? No. So, I was, the angels connect with me through many different ways. One of the ways I've learned to, it's like pioneering. We're living in a wonderful domestic society, and sometimes we're out in the wilds and woods. Great. When I say pioneering, it's like we have to read the sign. We have to learn to read the tale of the guidance we're giving, the trails of the energy, the timelines, all the different subtle maneuvers that we must make in our minds, our hearts, our guts, our bodies to discern what we might call our authentic direction, our best timeline, whatever word you might use for it. We're creatures of spirit in a body, and interpreting the world around us just through our five senses. We also have the sixth, and probably even more, where we learn to discern our senses. We learn it as toddlers. We learn it, all growing up, how to stabilize into a physical body. Great. But stabilizing into a spiritual body, there's ways to do it. And most cultures have some form of spiritual indoctrination designed to help us develop the spiritual muscle through into adulthood. And yeah, sure, it can be broken, it's imperfect, it doesn't cover everything. We learn to make it up for ourselves. So the angels have sometimes help me by getting right in front of my shadow. And I've learned to use my shadow as a wonderful tool of what Spirit's telling me, because if my shadow wants to hide from it and distract and get in the way, I better go look at that, because that's probably important. And I usually find some really good insight from the angels there. So it's less about singular what the angels do for me as much as it's me learning how to develop a language to have a conversation with them. And I'm half of that conversation, at least. So I have to know myself well enough to know, where am I obfuscating, where am I hiding, where am I leaning into, where are my curiosities going. I use everything, not just the good stuff, but the bad and the ugly. I use all of what I can in a moment, like full resourcefulness in my discerning. And I find the angels stand perfectly where they know that I'll eventually get it. It's in my emotions. It's in whispers in my head. It's in ideas that come through my head on beckons. There's so many ways. It's like a constant input, and it can be overwhelming. And so being able to tone it down and focus, and it's a strange answer to a really simple question. There isn't one way. There's many ways, and as I've learned to develop my preferred ways, they agree to that, and they use those methods. They use those ways. For a while, it was color. I said, all right, angels, show me the color red if it's a no, green if it's a yes. Let's be really stupid simple about this. That's what I'm going to look for. That's what you better use. Otherwise, nothing moves forward. Okay, clear. And that worked for a while. Cool. So pick it. There's a lot of freedom. We have free will. They want to work with us. So set the terms. What will work for you? What will you accept that will stand out from the milieu of constant static the world can throw at us, or we can perceive and get lost in? We want to find patterns. We want to find an answer. Great. So pick something really specific if you need to, and the angels will adjust and use the method you give them. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think for me, for a while, it was like if I saw a certain bird, that would mean something to me. Or if, uh, and it could come in any way, right? Like it could come in my social media. It could come in my physical reality. It could manifest in my dreams. It could appear as somebody giving me something that had that bird on it, and that would be my way of saying like, okay, I made that a correlation with something else, and now if I when it comes into my reality, then I'll know that's what it means, you know? So yeah,
Right on.
I think that's a really good point is like people can set the guidelines. It's just that I found myself with that sometimes connecting to somebody's higher self, for example, like an ex-girlfriend or something like that, and it wasn't actually how they were feeling in this reality, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. You know, so like
Context.
there's like a discernment to the process as well, I believe. It's like uh there has to be an inner knowing, but also a discernment of like what is this coming from, like a place of lack inside me, right? Or is this like a higher message? You know what I mean? I think that was a bigger
Yeah.
discernment for me.
Yeah.
And that brings on the question of like how have you guys been able to differentiate between, like you said, you get messages in your ear and in your mind, right? Like I'm sure a lot of people receive that, and like how can people differentiate from your experience whether it's an angel talking to them or if it's an entity that doesn't have good intentions, you know, or
Or a neuroses that we're cultivating all by our own. Sure. Yeah,
right.
there's lots of ways we perceive messages. Absolutely. Good question. Your thoughts? Okay. In my own journey, I'm very suspicious and guarded and skeptical by nature um, around my sovereignty and free will. And so I think I'll start answering this by saying a very, very simple bit of knowledge and information. We are sovereign. And so spirit must, all spirit, not the good only, even the bad spirit, must obey our will. Not that it's going to go fetch us coffee at a whim. But if we stand and draw down and say, no, you are not allowed in, great. We can shutter the curtains. So I want to preface that because that's something we as humans can feel very much like flags out in the wind, no control, and whatever comes along is just going to catch us up because we forget we're sovereign. We forget to flex that muscle, and it is a muscle. We must condition that will, and we have a use it or lose it function. The less we assert ourselves, the harder we think it is. It's not that hard, but it is something to condition a relationship to, and it is a skill to develop. So there is a effort it takes, but it's not hard in terms of it's not far distant from you. It's always available to you. It's never taken from you. You can pick up and you can stomp that boundary firmly in a moment. And so we often wait till we're pushed to it. So I state that because I think it's important to say before you even think about connecting to angels or energies, know that you are the one in charge of the relationship. You can shut the door. You cannot control them, but you can shut the door and stay protected in a given moment without fear of being taken over by them. Right? They can't. It's like anything else. They have no power that you don't give them. If you give them the power, of course they're going to run you. Great. That's the same with any relationship, whether it's human to human or human to soul, human to spirit. So I just want to kind of preface that into the conversation too. So state the question again because I got a bit off of track on that one.
So so in your personal experience, when you're receiving messages and when you're receiving like you're hearing thoughts and things like that, how are you personally differentiating between, okay, this is an angel, or this is one of my other guides, or this is potentially I have my guard down potentially, right? And this is some other entity or being trying to give me other thoughts or ideas to fulfill their own agenda.
Cool. Yeah, yeah. Again, great question. Thanks for reframing it. because I attenuated my thermostat. I I lived with that question. Um, I lived with my skepticism and not my distrust. Skepticism and distrust are different things. Skepticism is you look at something with an eye of refinement and proof. You want to know it
Mhm.
and let it in by degrees. You want to explore it by degrees with the mind to challenge. Okay, is what I mean by skepticism. A mind to challenge, a soul to challenge. And I let things in slowly. And I learned over time what it feels like when a friend is talking to me or when a mother's love. We're given that the answer to that question, many of us in oblique ways. You know, I had a very loving mom. I had a wonderful father. So I was surrounded by love. You know, sadly not everyone has that, but someone has love around them. And if not that, God will find us. And God has put in us a piece of his heart. So the answer of discernment is in us. We're tuned already when we listen to it. And I just learned to listen to my own tone. And there's a resonance then. So the answer to your question is there's a resonance that I agree with or that I like or that I can suss out and know. If something resonates well with me, I'll be more open and amenable to it. If something does not resonate well with me, I will get out the looking glasses and go, okay, let's explore this because maybe I'm having a bad day. Maybe there's some stuff in the way in my world to suss out. And have I, once I've cleaned up my strop and gone, oh, I'm good. No, there's something not quite right here. Pass. I've just learned to live with myself. I learned to know myself. So knowing yourself, knowing your own resonance, knowing what feels good, not in the immediate gratification way, but what satisfies your soul, it's something you have to live with and explore and get to know. You don't get it necessarily on day one. You might have it really quickly. You get it at different points in life. It took me um, years of living with it and knowing it to get comfortable. And when new things come in, or if something big happens in my life, I go into, like many of us, into a much more guarded stance. And so I might suss things differently. But even in that, there's such a relationship built now with the guides and the angels that I have. They're familiar to me. I know them. So when they speak, I know it's them. Just like I've learned to recognize when it's my shadow talking, but wearing a pleasant voice. Like, oh, I don't know. I know that trick. Not going to work today.
So,
I hope that
so
answers the question well.
yeah, so from what I'm hearing, Sam, it was a lot of trial and error throughout your life, through many years of discerning and building a relationship with the angels, with your guides, and feeling inside as a resonance in your body what feels right to your soul versus okay, that might be my shadow or that might be something else, right? Was that a good way to summarize it?
Yeah, I would just modify the one phrase, trial and error. It's more just living with it, living with the question.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like you've got a yen for a certain food, you're not sure what. You look at the fridge and you just have a bite of everything till you know what you want.
Right.
Not exactly trial and error, but living with the question till you're satisfied
Okay.
is more, if that makes a good difference for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I know for myself, I've been consciously trying to ask if I'm receiving something, like I'm also tuning into my body. I'm tuning into where the message is coming into. Like, is it the back side of my head on the right side? Okay, I know that's where I usually receive Ariel, or just as an example, right? And then if it's something that is even if as much protection as I put up and protect my space, sometimes I'm not 100% with it, right? And so I might get another message from another being, and that might come in on the left side, and okay, and then what I've found is really impactful and powerful is to ask, are you here with unconditionally loving me? And then if there's no answer, then I know that that's not an energy I want to be receiving guidance from, because
I
any
like
angels, any
that's a good
archangels that
thing.
I'm working with will immediately say yes. Yes, I'm here with unconditional love. And I think that that's one way of doing it. So I'm really curious with your experience, Wendi, like how do you discern?
Mhm. Yeah, I would just say I agree a lot with what Sam had said. It's using discernment, which is a muscle to build. It takes years. Um, so my primary way of being is kinesthetic. So for me, it's a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
If it feels good, if it feels warm and fuzzy, if I feel just a peace and a grace, I know it's spirit. But if something just doesn't feel right, it just kind of gives me shivers, or all of a sudden I just feel constricted, then I know it's not of the light. And I ask, who is this? What's your intention? Because that is like a clear universal, law. Ask and you shall receive. Knock on the door will open. Seek and you shall find. Right. So you ask, and we're sovereign beings. So if you ask, then um, it has to answer. Or if it's not that, it will go off. I also do this thing where, especially out in public, I want to make sure my heart is wide open and that I'm spreading my heart's love, kind of like the Care Bear stare. I can really relate to that.
You are kind of
That's
like
just
the human Care
what
Bear.
I've done. So what I was totally. Um, but I learned from this gentleman, his name Dave the Mystic, who's a retired rocket scientist, and he helps people with clearing like entities and connecting to your soul purpose. Wonderful,
Cool,
loving
man.
man.
Cool, man.
And he taught me something really fun to use. And it's imagine yourself inside of a disco ball, right? You know what a disco ball is? It's like all those little pieces of mirrors, right? But there's openings. So it's like surround yourself in that. And so what it is you are just putting out the mirror for every being to have a reflection of themselves. You're just mirroring to them who they are,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this is, what I do as a teacher. I'm just a mirror to shine the light on who you are and all parts of you. So it's that mirroring that if it's not of the light, they cannot see the reflect, like they will off the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
They can't handle seeing their own reflection. So it's a way of kind of deterring any energy that is not of the light.
Mm-hmm.
But just say, here you are, let me just show you who you are.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah, thank you for explaining
I
that.
do
That's a
that
really good
as a
that's a really
teacher.
good way. And I think I know in my experience growing up, I had this belief or thought that if I'm using my imagination, then it's not real. But the older I get, the more that I learn, I I recognize that imagination is everything. It's how we're creating our reality, how we're making the choices we're making. And in order to protect ourselves energetically, we have imagination is just I believe it's a word, right, to describe something way bigger. It's just a word that we like describes to me like how I'm seeing things, how I'm seeing this reality, how I can call upon protection, energetic protection, for example, around myself at any moment, anywhere I am in the world, no matter how dense the energy may feel in my body, no matter how challenging the circumstances may be, right? Whether it's people on substances or any of that, right? Like I can still use and connect to that part of myself, and then from there create energetic protection, pretty much anything. But I think it feels right to say, like, for any of the younger viewers especially, it's like, don't try not to push aside that part of yourself, right? Like that imaginative part. It's so important to keep that alive and to fuel that every day with creativity, with whatever it is that connects you to that, because people think and say sometimes imagination is just that, right? It's just in my imagination, but no, it's actually your personal lens of this reality, you know? Um, and I'd love to
Mhm.
hear what you guys think about that.
That's cool. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of really well stated stuff inside all of that. We're meaning making machines. We make a meaning and a story about every single thing that we observe within us and without us. And we are also co-creators. I think that's a really special word. And I want anyone who hasn't thought about that word to take a moment and think about what co-creation actually means. Because there's creation, and co means alongside or in partnership with, right? So if we are co-creators, we're co-creating directly with the creator of the universe. That's not a throwaway phrase that I use. That's a very profound statement of our position in the cosmos. And it's not one of ego, and it's not one of arrogance. It's not one of being too on the high horse. You know, there is a rightness, there is a truth in it, and when we embrace all that that implies, and it implies quite a bit, we begin to see a container, a frame around the question of our existence. Why am I here? Well, you're a co-creator. Oh, I thought, well, huh? But I'm just making like minimum wage and struggling. I'm a co-creator? Like, I don't feel like one. Okay, think about it then. If you don't feel like one, there's a reason. Because maybe it never got presented to you, or maybe, like it's not a common thing that we get built up into. We don't get built up into being co-creators. We get built down into being slaves to work and serve a system. We're in the matrix if we choose to be, or we can be in the world, not of the world, outside of it, in a different state up here and in our hearts here. You're a co-creator. You're born into it. It's a birthright, not something you earn. You don't become worthy of being a co-creator. It's also not a throwaway phrase either. You do not become worthy of co-creation. You are born into it. Whether you were born as a bastard or an unwanted child or by loving parents, doesn't matter. Every human being that gets through the birth canal and into the breathing space is destined to be a co-creator. We become capable at it through the practice of living life well. It is a skill and it is a role to learn to take on. And in doing that, we begin to become stewards of the earth and each other, and we see things differently. So it implies a lot to be co-creators.
Mm-hmm.
I'll drop that there for a second because I think there's a lot to it, and I wouldn't want to just miss it.
Anything you'd like to add to that? Thank you, Sam. That was a beautiful way of phrasing it. I think
Yeah, he said it absolutely beautiful and right on.
Came through.
yeah, yeah, I think it's a really great way, because from what I heard in that, it's all about asking, right? Like asking to receive the awareness, and then recognizing it can happen in a moment, right? Like it can happen at any moment that I want to know the truth. I want to see why I'm here, you know? And then from there, anybody who is interested can the doors open up from there. You know what I mean? And then I know from my experience when I had my awakening, I started getting all this information just flooding in from every possible way in my life, and then it started to a remembrance started happening inside me, right?
Mhm.
And I started to recognize that I have had past lifetimes. I've had all these ways that I've developed as a soul, and I'm just in this meat suit right now, but I've had all these other experiences that are playing themselves out little by little in this reality where I'm having these different relationships with people at very specific times of my life because I have contracts with those people to show up at those times to help guide me, to help refocus me, to help show
Mhm.
me and teach me different lessons because this is all, in my opinion, just a big earth school. And as
Mhm.
individual souls, we're learning these lessons, and then we get kind of brought back to where it all started before we came into these bodies, coming back up to source, showing creator, this is the play that I was part of, right? And here's the fun things I experienced. Here's the lessons I made passed, and here's a few I might have not passed. So can you set me up for a more effective way to get that lesson potentially in this next body or wherever we go from there, right? Like that's a great mystery to me, and so that's how I perceive it. Um, and I think, at the same time, I don't know. The more I learn, the less I know. It's like I feel as though I don't know anything. It's all just uh, it feels as though the more I know, the more I'm learning because I try to be a student every day of my life and just kind of
Yeah.
wipe the slate clean and start from there, and so
Accumulation of knowledge is really great. It feels really good on some parts to like get to know things and have information and knowledge being experience that we've had ourselves. But I found it even better where I'm at now, better being more useful to me where I'm at to move forward, not in like a qualitative state, but I'd much rather prefer to have really interesting, curious, invoking questions more than truths I walk around with anymore.
right,
Truths are great situationally. Wonderful. I've got a bunch of them. I can rely on truths to get me through a lot of things because many things are conditionally true. And can also be seemingly juxtaposed. So it's good, and there are very few capital T truths, right?
right,
Very few. But there are truths. There are. We can refer to them. We can depend upon them. Truth is not mutable. Truths are totally conditional at the same time. So there's a genus and a species around truth. One's capital T, immutable. We can all depend on it. And the others is perspective based, conditional based, momentary, relatable and referenced, but very fluid. I much prefer to have questions because a great question is the best tool in the entire universe for moving forward.
a hundred
If you
percent.
want to get done, find a good question. If you don't know what else to do, wake up, be forestating a truth, and ascertaining and defining the day. I mean, that's good too, but get a good question in there too. Like, what do I want today? It doesn't have to be like the best question on the planet. There's lots of great questions. It's not about competition. Just get a good, useful question that stirs your curiosity and gets your fire going. And you got enough for a day and go with that. Is where I'm at now, and it's a lot of fun to play with that.
I'm right there with you, man. I wake up every morning and I ask myself and I ask spirit, how can I be of service today? That's one of my first That's one of my first questions. And sometimes I have to ask the question, how do I want to make money today? You know, and then there's those deeper questions of like, okay, um, can you show me? Can you deepen my connection? Can creator? Can you deepen my connection with the angels, for example? Can you show me and build a more connected conversation with that realm? You know, like I love those kind of questions, and I totally agree. I think questions are the best way because we can just keep talking for days with with asking each other questions, you know. And yeah,
Right.
with that, I think we can wrap it up unless you guys have anything else to share. Was there anything else you wanted to add in, Wendi?
Oh, I'm just so grateful
Mm.
for this time with you and anyone that listens to this. And yeah, it's the journey, not the destination. We've all
Mhm.
heard that before. And,
Mm.
I've learned to um, just be you unapologetically.
You are a
Yeah, shine
living
your light.
example of that for sure, and I love that about you, both of you. You know, you guys are so authentic. You've done a lot of work to take off any masks, and that's what I love about you guys so much is that you're super authentic, super loving humans. It's been such a pleasure to chat with you guys. It feels like we just skimmed the surface. There's so much
Oh
more
yeah.
to talk about, and I'm sure we'll have a part
So much
two
more.
down the road. And one thing I wanted to just acknowledge you, Sam, in is you were one of the first people in my life to invite me to Sweat Lodge,
Mm.
which is a Lakota, Native American Lakota way of praying and of
Mm.
connecting to the earth, to the womb of the earth, and to pray in that space. And since the first day that you and I sat in Sweat Lodge, I think it was with your uncle, right?
Right. Correct.
Yeah, that's opened my life to that part of my journey as well. And I'm the next person I'm interviewing actually is gonna be my Lakota teacher, and so it'll be really
Awesome.
beautiful to share that journey and to learn from her as well. So I just wanted to
That's
acknowledge
very cool.
Sam, yeah, for connecting me into that world and showing me like a way of praying that has been my preferred way of praying because I can be on the earth, like physically on the ground inside of a sweat lodge, which is built out of branches, which represent like there's so much representation inside there, but it's kind of like the ribs of the earth and the womb, and then sitting inside that and connecting to spirit and praying um, for the earth, for the children, for our families, for whatever we need in our lives. And I wanted to thank you for that and acknowledge you for that as well, Sam.
Oh, my pleasure, man. It was really cool hearing your dad sing that Cossack fighting song in there. It was such a fun experience. My uncle and I still talk about that. That was really powerful.
Yeah, my dad. I've never heard him sing that song. My dad was born and raised in Russia, and he sang this Kozak song, and it was like from his soul, you know. Like I'd never heard him sing
It
it,
was
and he just hit it that day, you know. He just went for it. And
good,
I was
good.
I was like, whoa, where did that come from, you know?
I don't know, man. I felt like there were 80 of those guys in there singing it in chorus. There was such a power coming through him. Yeah, he really showed us some of his beauty that day. Your father has such a wild, wonderful, beautiful spirit to him, and I love getting to see it every time I get to be with him or talk with him. So please tell him, give him our best. I would love to, if I may, just say one last thing in closing. 21, who maybe watching this down the road, who's going it alone, who's in a stubborn place or in a shy place or the shameful place in the shadow where they feel like we're all living a life of mystery and wonder that's not available to you. I want to speak to those people who may be present and say, I used to feel that way too. I lived most of my life in the shadows and the sidelines, hiding behind plants at parties because I didn't know how to be alone and feel like I belonged and relate to anybody. Um, Magic and wonder is part of it, but the human journey is full of the good, the bad, the ugly, and a hell of a lot of the indifferent. And a lot of the indifference we learn to engender within ourselves. So don't be indifferent to yourself. Reach out. Reach out to someone. One of the most powerful choices I made, among many, was to have a mentor. Someone who knew how to live well at the level of living I wanted to be at. And I will always have a mentor. I have a mentor now, and it's worth every investment of time, energy, and pennies to go into it. Don't go it alone. You don't have to. And if you think you need to, really think twice about that because you don't have to. You'll get there a lot faster and you'll get there a lot more joyfully. Don't go it alone. There's no reason. So
Absolutely.
thanks. I just want to put that out.
Yeah, and with that being said, I'm gonna drop any websites, any ways to connect with you guys, any contacts that you guys want to share into the description in the YouTube, and that way people can reach out to you guys and can schedule sessions or can schedule to learn from you guys and you be teachers for the different levels. And you guys are located about 30-40 minutes from Philadelphia.
Depending on traffic, yeah, within an hour's drive,
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
Philly.
So,
But we work online too. I mean, the beauty of the internet is work online. And if people are called to reach out to us, that's fantastic. But at the very least, like drop a note in the comments on this video, whether it's YouTube or reach out. Like don't go it alone doesn't just mean contact us. Don't go it alone just means like put your voice out there, be heard, take a risk on yourself to connect around you in some fashion because life will get a lot better real quick when you do, no matter what's going on.
absolutely.
You're
I agree with that
guaranteed.
100%. Well, thank you
Been
guys so
there
much.
and
I love you both.
Oh, you're so
And
you too, Peter.
I'm so grateful
love
for
you.
your guys' time and for sharing all your wisdom. And I'm sure we'll do this again in the future. So until then, take care, guys. And I'm gonna stop the recording now. Love you guys.